Robert Harrison stood frozen in the hospital corridor, his hands gripping his head as waves of panic crashed over him. His world was ending. Inside that room lay his 6-month-old son, Thomas, struggling for each breath while machines beeped their urgent warnings. The doctors had given them 1 hour, maybe less. The baby needed a rare blood transfusion immediately, but the hospital had run out of a specific blood type. Robert had already made frantic calls to every hospital within 200 miles. Nothing. His wife, Margaret, had collapsed from exhaustion hours ago and was sedated in another room. The weight of helplessness was crushing him. This was supposed to be different. Robert had built his fortune from nothing, starting with a small shipping business 30 years ago. Now at 58, he owned one of the largest logistics companies in the state. He had always believed money could solve any problem. But today, watching his only child fade away, all his wealth meant absolutely nothing. The irony burned like acid. He had spent decades climbing higher, earning more, building his empire, and now, when it truly mattered, he was powerless. Elena Martinez had been working as a Harrison family's housemaid for 3 years. At 52, she had kind eyes that crinkled at the corners and hands worn from decades of hard work. She had raised 4 children on her own after her husband died young, working multiple jobs to keep them fed and in school. When she heard about baby Thomas that morning, she immediately asked for time off to come to the hospital. Her supervisor had refused. Elena quit on the spot. She arrived at the hospital still wearing her simple gray uniform, her dark hair pulled back in its usual neat bun. She found Robert in the hallway, a broken man despite his expensive suit. "Mr. Harrison," she said quietly. He barely looked up. "Elena, you shouldn't be here." "I heard about Thomas," she said, her voice steady despite the emotion in her eyes. "I want to help." Robert's laugh was bitter. "Unless you have his blood type, there's nothing anyone can do." Elena touched his arm gently. "What blood type does he need?" "Be negative with a specific rare antibody," Robert said, his voice cracking. "The doctors said maybe 1 in 10,000 people have it." Elena's face went still. "I have B negative blood." Robert's head snapped up. "What?" "When I was pregnant with my 3rd child, there were complications," Elena explained. "They tested me extensively. I have B negative with some kind of rare factor. They told me I should register as a donor because it was so unusual." For the first time in hours, hope flickered in Robert's eyes. "Are you sure?" "Let them test me," Elena said simply. "Right now?" 30 minutes later, the doctor emerged from the lab with an expression of disbelief. "It's a match," he said. "A perfect match." Robert actually stumbled, catching himself against the wall. "How is that possible?" The doctor shook his head. "Some things we just can't explain. But we need to start the transfusion immediately." Elena was already rolling up her sleeve. As the nurses prepared her, Robert stood nearby, trying to find words that wouldn't come. "Why?" he finally managed. "Why would you do this?" Elena looked at him with those kind, weathered eyes. "Because I'm a mother," she said softly. "And because 3 years ago when my daughter needed surgery we couldn't afford, someone helped us. A stranger paid her entire hospital bill. We never found out who." She paused, her voice growing quieter. "I told God that day if I ever had the chance to save someone else's child, I would take it. No questions asked." Robert felt something break open inside his chest. "I never knew about your daughter. You never asked," Elena said without accusation. "But that's okay. People get busy with their own lives." The transfusion took 45 minutes. Elena lay still on the bed while her blood flowed through tubes into the tiny body in the next room. She closed her eyes and prayed silently, her lips moving with words shaped by faith and hope. Robert sat beside her the entire time. This woman he had seen nearly every day for 3 years, but had never truly seen at all. He had known she cleaned his home, prepared meals, and kept everything running smoothly. But he had never asked about her family, her struggles, or her story. He had never wondered about the person behind the uniform. When it was over, the doctor came in with tears in his eyes. "He's stabilizing," he said. "The baby is going to make it." Robert covered his face with his hands and wept like he hadn't wept since childhood. Elena reached over and squeezed his shoulder gently, this powerful man who had finally learned he wasn't powerful at all. 2 weeks later, baby Thomas came home healthy and hungry for life. Robert had tried repeatedly to give Elena money, to buy her a house, to change her life with his wealth. She refused everything except one thing. Just remember this feeling, she told him. Remember what really matters. Robert did more than remember. He started a foundation that paid medical bills for families who couldn't afford them. He began a blood donor registry in his company. He required all his executives to spend 1 day each month volunteering at hospitals or shelters. But more than that, he changed. He learned the names of every person who worked for him. He asked about their families, their dreams, their struggles. He became present in his own life instead of just passing through it. Elena continued working for the Harrison family, but now as a friend more than an employee. She became Thomas's godmother and watched him grow, always with that quiet smile that held the wisdom of someone who understood what truly mattered. Years would pass and Robert would build an even larger fortune. But he would always say his real wealth was measured in the moment when a humble maid taught him the most valuable lesson of his life. That the greatest power isn't in what we own or control. It's in what we give when we have nothing to gain. And sometimes the people we think we're helping are actually the ones saving us. Please tell me where you're watching my video from and at what time. If this story touched your heart, please like and share with others who might need this reminder. Subscribe to hear more stories about ordinary people doing extraordinary things. And comment below to tell us about a time when someone's kindness changed your life. Because these stories matter. They remind us of who we want to be.